Hey guys, welcome back to part 3 of the series Python for Finance, Security Analysis. Just letting you know the video quality is a little different today because I'm using actually different lighting, different camera setting, and different mic. So if you see like inconsistency in camera, I apologize. This recording video thing is sort of new to me. So if anybody has suggestions, feel more than free to comment on the comment section below and let me know what I'm doing wrong or right. Okay, so before I get started, two things I'd like to note. Number one, I think I mentioned this in maybe episode 1 or 2, but this is not trading. So I'm not going to cover Bitcoin trading, Forex, exchanges, trading algorithms, nothing like that. So if you answer questions, I probably won't answer them because that's outside the scope of the series. And number two is I'm not certain where you guys are in terms of, well, because this channel is new, where you are in terms of experience in programming, Python programming, or any kind of programming, and your investing sort of level of expertise. So what I try to do is cover as broadly as possible in the shortest possible amount of time possible, because I am not certain if I'm boring the advanced guys and sort of like too confusing for the advanced people. So if you tell me in the comments where you are in terms of those two level skills, I can kind of adjust my lessons based on that. Anyway, so before I get started, just let you know this episode is going to focus on two topics, Jupyter Notebook and Pandas. So Jupyter Notebook is a tool. I don't need to have a whole lesson on that. It's pretty intuitive, pretty easy to use. It's point and click, so it's pretty easy. But as far as Pandas goes, Pandas is huge. It's probably one of the largest libraries that Python programming has. So it's really big, and I'm going to cover just the things that you need to get started. So what I recommend to people when they learn something new is that if you have a new thing new mountain you want to conquer, you don't need to know every level of detail to kind of move to the next step. What I do recommend is instead just do your thing, like just do your project. And if you have any problems, you just kind of Google along the way. Otherwise, you'll never get there because, Pandas is, it's gigantor. I don't even know probably 80–90% of what's capable of. I just know enough to get it going. So, with that said, if you have any questions, remember to always answer them in the comments, leave feedback, and let's get started in part 3. All right, so now that we have a Jupyter Notebook up, let me explain what Jupyter Notebook is capable of. So basically, this was created by data scientists. They actually didn't want to separate the two screens between the editor and the thing that actually runs it. So why not just, plus everything's on the web. Why not put everything on the browser, right? Code on the browser and run it on the browser. So let me kind of show you this thing. So the way the traditional programming has been done is like you open up some kind of a notepad or editor or some sort, and then you do your coding, and then you put some comments in there, right? And this is fine and all, but then you would have to save this and then open up some terminal or browser or whatever, and then you try to run it and see how it does. Now that's a little annoying because you have to switch back and forth, and the comments people don't read, and it's not as clear to people what's happening. So what Jupyter Notebook has solved is, let me get rid of this, is that you no longer have to separate the screen between the coding and the output. So let me give you an example. So let's see. So right now, here's some basic markdown that I have. So if you want to do markdown, right? Like if you have a markdown right here, you see code and markdown. Code means you're gonna run code there, and markdown means it's comment or pictures or media of some sort. So here I have this looks like, it doesn't look like code obviously, right? So this hash means like that's the title, right? And pound that's it's like h2 is it h1 in HTML, and this is sort of like h2. So if you press alt enter, not enter, if you just do enter, it just kind of creates more lines. But if you do alt enter, it actually kind of executes the markdown. So basically, it does a pretty formatting. So we got the anaconda, right? So these are the notes that I would write to the fellow person or a fellow programmer who wants to basically do this financial analysis for stocks, right? So that they can see what I've done. I've installed anaconda, I've set up the system path, and yada yada, right? Oh, by the way, if you guys wanted to know more about Jupyter Notebook, what it's capable of, I put a link there. And so you can actually see like, hey, okay, but if I double click, it goes back into the markdown, right? And if I alt enter, it becomes this pretty format thing. So let's do simple stuff, right? Like for example, I want to be able to embed an image. So what you want to do is also switch this to markdown right here. And then you can actually type in this thing. This exclamation mark means it's a Jupyter special character. It means that whenever you see this, that means whatever follows is specifically to Jupyter Notebook. So if you actually put this in Python code, this line, it won't do anything. It will just get an error. So this means that you want to embed an image, this dog right here. So that's what that means. Okay, now what if we want to do video? What if I want to embed like a YouTube video? Well, traditionally you would have like embed codes and stuff like that, but Jupyter Notebook is slightly different. So what you have to do is you have to say from IPython display import HTML. This, if you guys, I'm sure you guys know what import does. Basically, import does, it brings additional libraries from outside to this environment that you're coding in. So I'm gonna actually copy this one. It's really long. So what this does is it actually embeds the HTML, this iframe tag that YouTube gives you, into Jupyter Notebook, right? Because Jupyter Notebook is, is over the browser. So obviously, whatever you can do in the browser, Jupyter Notebook should be able to do as well. So this means embed that HTML into the notebook. So if you press Alt Enter, this was the episode 1. So as you can see, you can do images, videos. So now you can see how this can get dynamic, right? Not only code, you can embed videos, links to documents, whatever, right? So now let's do some real Python. So now let's do some real Python. So markdown, Python starts here. All right, so let's do a simple one. X equals 1 plus 2, right? And if you press Enter, it just gives you a new line. And so if you wanted to execute it, you have to press Alt Enter. So you see that thing went from blank like this to 3. That means it was a third cell that executed. If you try again, so that's the fourth cell that executed, right? So that if you see a star, like for example, if you see a star like that, that means it's still running, right? So let's say to put the X. You want to put the value of X. That's 3. Okay, now let's get a little more Pythonic, right? So you want to create a list of 1 through 10. So you say X equals I for I in range 10, right? If you guys don't know Python, this is sort of intuitive, right? So this bracket means it's a list, and this means go from range. This is actually 0, 10, but 0 the first. If you just say 10, like it's 0 is sort of assumed. So this creates a list, and it goes from 0 to 10, not including 10. So it should go through 0 through 9 included. So if you press Alt Enter, it's executed in memory. This becomes 7, right? Because this is a 7 cell executed. Now if you say X, or you could say print X, it's the same thing. Now it will show you this list that you have created. Now what happens if you have a really huge number like this, right? What you notice is, let me clean this one out. By the way, if you press this button, if you point at a cell and you click on this thing right here, this cut selected cells, it will actually just kind of remove it. So if you do that, right, if you want to execute this, notice this thing, you see that star right there? That means it's running. As it's running, that means this is a huge number, so it's going to go for a while. And if you ever encounter something like this and you can't do anything else because it's like eating up your CPU or memory or something, you can just come up here and you go to kernel, interrupt, and that will interrupt the kernel. So see, it says keyword interrupt. Okay, so anyway, now you know how to interrupt. Okay, let me run that again. So now if I press X, it's gonna be some gigantor thing. So we don't want that. So let's go from 0 to 10 again. Oops. Delete. All right, so we have that. So now let's start doing some real data stuff. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to import pandas. If you guys don't know what pandas is, actually I'll put a link to the Jupyter notebook for the lesson as well. But pandas is, let me see if I can see pandas. So pandas, oh, not panda, it's pandas. So basically, this is a numerical data analysis library. This was actually made by a guy who used to work at a hedge fund, I think. Not a hedge fund, sorry, a high frequency trading firm. You know, he used to work a lot with Python, and he's like, hey, you know, this data analysis with Python is kind of painful. So he actually came out with a library that focuses on doing this number crunching. So anyway, this is not a tutorial on Pandas, so I'm not going to get too much into it. But we want to import the library. So we say import pandas spd and ypd. Well, that's sort of like, you know, this is what everybody does. Like there's some initials that people use, and it's sort of the industrial sort of standard. So this means import pandas library. Okay, so it ran. As you can see, they turned to 14. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to read a CSV file. Let me show you what the CSV file looks like. It is, actually I'll put a link to it because it's hard for me to figure out how to switch screens out of this screencast. So actually maybe I can, one second. Let me see if I can video capture, window capture. See if I can show you this too. Okay, now it shows a blank. Okay, never mind. I'll just put a link. I'll just put a link to the notebook. But I have an Excel spreadsheet. Basically, this came from, let's see, sample. Where did I get it from? Sample CSV file. Yes, I believe I got. I got this from here. So this is a sample insurance portfolio from Florida, I believe. I don't know what it includes. It has some insurance stuff. You can read about it. But anyway, I'm using this data. I downloaded it. Now I have it in my folder. And I named it Florida _ insurance sample.csv. So I want to read that. So the way you read that is, okay, I'm a little confused. So many tabs here. DF, data frame. Let me explain what that is after I kind of do this thing. See, read CSV FL _ insurance sample.csv, and then it read it. So now what is data frame? Well, data frame in a nutshell is basically like an Excel object, right? Data frame is basically a tabular data that it can read and actually kind of do some, you know, searching and splicing and indexing and all that fun stuff. So let me show you what DF looks like. So if I press Alt Enter, you can see that it has multiple columns, right? It has policy ID, state code, yada yada, multiple columns. So basically, this is Excel spreadsheet, right? It's tabular data, right? It has all this stuff in it, right? And it reads really, really fast. I don't know if you guys ever run, you know, CSV files with more than like 100,000 rows. I mean, Excel will just crap out. But Pandas, you could have like multi-millions. I mean, I've gotten as high as 7 million rows, and it still worked pretty fine. Yeah, it might be a little slow, but it works. Whereas Excel, it just kind of dies. So you can actually do a lot of interesting stuff with data frame. So for example, suppose I want to see the first top 3 rows of the tabular data, right? So what you can do is df.head3, and what it'll show you is the first 3 rows, right? It's pretty intuitive. Okay, what about the bottom 3? df tail 3. Oh, okay, that shows. All right, now what if I want to do print the first row of this data? I want to print this guy right here, 119736. So I can say df.iloc, which means index location of the 0th guy, which prints this one, 119736. Now, what if I want to print the last guy? Well, you know, Pandas, this is actually not just Pandas, but NumPy as well. NumPy is a numerical analysis. You can just say -1. It said print the last guy, and then it will print you the last guy. See, if you do tail 3, you see that that's the last guy. 398149 is the last guy. Okay, now what if I want to see, You see the counties over here? What if I want to see the unique counties, right? So this is, I want to see what are the different names of the different counties. So I can say df county, oh, sorry about that. df county dot unique. And you can see it shows you Clay County, Suwannee County, Nassau County, yada, yada, yada. So what else can you do? Well, what if I want to search for a masonry construction company? So if you come over here, you'll notice, I don't know if you can see, okay, it's all the way on the right. Yeah, I gotta move my head. But anyway, you see the column on the right, right? So you can see that there's masonry, wood, reinforced concrete. What else is there? Reinforced masonry. Anyway, all kinds of stuff. So now what I want to be able to find out which rows contains the mason row people. So what you want to do is here you can say df construction, sorry, can't type, equals masonry, and bam. If you scroll over to the right, I'm sorry for my head being head blocking the way. Let me kind of see if I can scroll down. Sorry about that. You can see that now the construction rows, let me see if I can move my, yeah. So now that you can see that the mason row is all masonry. So these are the guys who are all masonry construction people. All right, let me go back here. So, all right, now what else can it do? Well, anything that you can do in Excel, you can pretty much do, right? I mean, it's much, much simpler than Excel VB script, for example. Suppose I want to find this point granularity thing. Let me see if I can scroll back up. Let's see, where is it? And sorry about my head being in the way, guys. Point granularity, where is it? Oh, okay, so I have to move this again, darn. Okay, so let me move it back out again. So you see this point granularity thing? Now, suppose I want to be able to filter that. I want to be able to say, hey, show me the point granularity, you know, the columns that contain point granularity of, say, I don't know, greater than 2. So you can say something like df point granularity t is greater than or equal to 2. Now, if I scroll over again, now you can see, let me make sure that you can see that point granularity now is like, you know, 3s and 3s and 4s and things like that. But before it was see 1s and 3s and 4s and I saw a 2 over there. So now you can see that you can do kind of interesting filtering. All right, so now let me bring this back up. Okay, so what else can it do? Simple stuff like string. Now let's suppose you want to look for the rows that contain the word com, C-O-M-M. Let me kind of go back up here. Where's com? Yeah, so line, whatever this line means. I guess residential or commercial. What if you want to look for guys who are just straight up commercial guys? You can just say TF construction. No, sorry, line. Dot str. I mean, convert to string, right? Because right now Pandas Dataframe doesn't know that it's a string. Right now it just treats everything as if it were just string, right? So sorry, as numeric value. So you have to say dot str. String contains COM. So now, sorry about that line. String contains com. Huh, that's weird. It didn't have that. Line string contain. Oh, whoops. 3 M's. No wonder. Okay. So if you come over here to the right again, I think my video is blocking. Oh, Yeah, sorry about that. So now you can see that they're all commercial, right? There's no residential. All right, let me bring it back up here. Okay, what else can it do? Let's see, what else can it? Oh yes, and this plot thing. So now you have all this data, right? And you want to be able to plot it. So Dataframe has this convenient plot function called plot. But when you run this df.plot, you'll notice you get this funny thing. But because what happens in regular Python, when you do Dataframe.plot, what it does is it actually launches a new window. But obviously, that's for a Windows application. I mean, it's for a command line application. So you can actually, it has control over the Windows system. But this is a browser, so you can't spawn a new, new screen within the browser. So what you have to do is, Jupyter Notebook has a special command called matplotlib.inline. I won't bore you with the details, but basically it tells the browser, hey, if you have to do stuff, graphing stuff, and you have to spawn a new window, don't do it. Do it instead, do it inline in the browser. So if you plot this, now you'll notice it's doing some thinking. You got that too as well, but now you get this pretty chart. But if you look at it, it's like, oh, there's so many stuff going on. Well, what if I want to just print one line? Like I want to we'll be able to print like this HU site limit thing. Like, well, how do you do that? So that's simple. You say df HU site limit dot plot, and then ta-da, aha! So that printed that. So anyway, I think this tour is getting a little bit long, but now you can see this Jupyter Notebook is quite powerful, right? I mean, you can bring in media from the other places. You can do annotation, you can do videos, you can run Python, you can run data frames, you can do all kinds of slicing and dicing. You can do all kinds of graphing. I mean, this is sort of just the beginning. I mean, in the future series, I'll show you some amazing stuff. Like you can do heat maps, you can do interactive maps, bar charts, line charts, like, all kinds of charts, like 3D. Basically anything you can think of, anything that, those pretty graphs and charts that financial analysts do, you can do it 10 times as faster and better and much more just intuitive. So anyway, one other thing. So the whole thing about this is that I want to be able to use Python to automate a lot of this 10K, 10 cube data processing and cleansing and all that stuff. So where does the benefit of using Python comes from? Well, it's simple. Suppose this is your analysis, right? I mean, obviously it's not, but suppose like this data changes. Suppose now you want to do like, January 2017, right? And then next month you want to do February 2017 or something like that, right? So what you can do is actually just replace that file, and what you come over here is cell, and run all, and literally it will go through every cell and run everything. But that was a little fast. Okay, let me clear the cells. So restart and clear output. Right now, a lot of the codes disappeared. You notice? So now, if I come back up here, well, this markdown is not going to get cleared. The Python code execution output did. So what you do is you say cell. So imagine you change this file right now, and you want to be able to run everything from top to bottom again. Then you say cell run all, and ta-da! It just works. I mean, so imagine all you have to do is every time there's a new 10K or 10Q, all you have to do is download it, like literally, that's it. And your algorithm, suppose you did this only for, say, I don't know, like, Apple or something, right? So now all you have to do is just download that file, run it all again, and your analysis will take over, right? So you don't have to manually enter in data again and again and again, assuming that the data that you get obviously has all the pretty formatting and all that stuff. And of course, the next tutorial series, I'm going to talk about where to get that, which is from Symfin. Anyway, so that was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. Anyway, I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, comments, concern, make sure you leave in the comments below. And if there's anything that you didn't understand, this is feedback-driven tutorial series, so I take your feedbacks pretty seriously. A lot of the stuff that I've talked about here is came from actually comments and stuff like that. So please leave comments below. Any questions you had, particular topics that you might want to cover more of, you want me to cover more of. And if this is your first time watching it, please do subscribe and please thumb up. I really appreciate that. And I will see you in the next tutorial series. Bye-bye.